doing it before him.
I think so. He was a major player. He was the first significant. I guess he was a turning point for the drug trafficking in Harlem. Like I said, there was really no significant thing going on in Harlem. They always wanted to drug Harlem out for some reason, because Harlem was majority drug. And Harlem came from a great tradition.
Right.
You know, great black political and black liberation people started from Harlem. So how do you destroy that? Bring drugs in, you know? Okay, and that's with anything black. From Harlem to St. George's County in Maryland. Get the drugs in there. Destroy those black people. Get rid of the black middle class. Whatever. Destroy the voices, so to speak. So yeah, there was always some trouble going on with that. And then I always knew about people like Nicky Barnes.
Right.
Okay, I knew about Bumpy Johnson. I didn't know about Frank Lucas. That's the amazing thing about him, is he did what he did on a larger scale, but he was much more down low with it.
Right.
So his is a very interesting story, and it was interesting enough for Hollywood to make into a movie. I thought it was, to me, that was very conspicuous that they would do that, considering that they didn't want to talk about a Frank Lucas for years.
Right.
All of a sudden, okay, the mainstream people, the major media. Now now they put him and they give him they devote a whole movie to him, to his story. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, and for Frank Lucas, who's still alive and did time in prison, he basically helped to bring down many of the corrupt police officers of New York City.
Yeah.
That's a major factor for him, which kept him out of a life sentence.
Yeah, and it's as you know, in Buffalo, it's very tough to bring down police officers, especially white police, Italian police officers, Irish police officers. Very tough to bring them down, especially if it's a question of black people bringing them down. That just doesn't fly here. But he did it, and there was a deal. According to the movie, that was part of the deal between him and the investigating officer.
Right.
Was that they can get because Lucas didn't believe that they were going to do that. He says, "Oh, you guys just want me, and that's it."
Right.
You don't want these Irish cops or whatever, these Italian cops that wanted me. And the guy looked at him dead in the face. He said, "No, it's what you represent, and that's why you are a threat to the Italians and and those involved in organized crime. It's because you hurt them just because they have to think of you as you're a black man and you're a businessman and you're doing what you're doing and you're doing it by yourself with your organization." And so that in other words, that hurt their egos.
Right.
Okay. So yeah. In bringing him down, he made a deal, and it brought down a lot. It made probably the biggest impact on police corruption since Serpico.
Right.
Frank Serpico and people like that. So yeah, it's an amazing story to be told.
It is, and that's something. Do you think we're going to see a follow-up movie more into the relationship between Bumpy Johnson and Frank Lucas? As a precursor, maybe that's a movie that's next.
Hollywood had a perfect chance to do it before. What they tried to do is and you notice this with Hollywood. Whenever there is a key player in this white game of organized crime, when the key player is black, they try to minimize the movie, as they did with Cotton Club. They try to play Bumpy Johnson just like he was a street corner thug or whatever. That's it. It wasn't until Hoodlums came out then you understood what Bumpy Johnson really was.
Right.
Okay. And the same thing with Frank Lucas. They gave Frank Lucas the whole movie. I had never known him. Hollywood should do that. Okay. How many times have we seen roles which Dutch Schultz or Pretty Boy Floyd. I just saw that one movie where, what's the name of that movie? Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Right.
And they had a few scenes with Babyface Nelson, George Nelson.
Right.
Okay, you've seen how many times how many old movies have you seen Babyface Nelson in those guys?
Absolutely.
Okay, so they just mentioned him in passing. Okay,
right.
And, so there's a lot of room for Hollywood to do stuff like this regarding the old black gangsters from back in the day.
Right.
Those
I think
are your real
it would be, those are the type of movies that, are educational tools, and you look back into them a little bit better than what we've seen from some of the other movies. What do you think about Tyler Perry's new movie in comparison to Precious and movies like that? Why do you think we've gotten away from movies that would tell a story about Frank Lucas, Bumpy Johnson, and now we're moving into more? You know why?
Because it's all because Hollywood chooses who makes these movies. Hollywood's not going to choose Chris Stevenson and Pat Freeman to produce or direct movies.
No, we're not going to be producers.
You know what I'm saying? because they say, it's the ideas those guys have in their minds. You want to put forth an idea of blackness that we don't want people to see.
Right.
So they will run to Tyler Perry. Here, this guy's going to put on a dress. So here, you do your thing, man, and we'll give you billions.
Right.
Okay. So that's what's going on in Hollywood. Tyler Perry has been complaining as of late about only being able to get his films into 2,100 theaters, but that's it. Okay, but he's been hugely successful, but even he's facing some racism.
Right.
All right. So, what are you going to do? There's room for the Tyler Perrys and everything, but there's lots of room for other type of black filmmakers out there.
I hope that they begin making more movies like that, because when you start talking about these realistic events, you start seeing the danger of what the drug trade has done to our community. Yeah. Almost destroyed the Apollo Theater, and it was a associate of one of the gangsters there that brought the Apollo back before Percy Sutton got it. Mm-hmm. So you're talking about these are movies that I think are significant, that can grossly affect some of the decisions of our young people today.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Well, that's all for us here on the network, as we took a look at a piece of history from our community, Frank Lucas and Bumpy Johnson. Man, you're talking about original. That's the original gangsters. Yeah. Hey, this is Pat Freeman and Chris Stevenson, and this is the network. We'll see you next week with our next installment.
Next week.